3 boxes like this filled with vinyl scraps, and chances are you do too. You have lots of scraps laying around with every intention of using them, but you never get around to it. So today we are going to be making a fun vinyl decal just using our scraps. So the supplies we will be using are, of course, our vinyl scraps, and you will need some sort of paper cutter. I don't recommend scissors because we really want straight lines for this. You will need a standard grip cutting mat. I recommend one that is still relatively sticky. If you're using an older one, this may be a little tricky. You'll need a brayer or a scraper, and of course, some transfer tape and some product blanks to put your decal on. So today we're going to be using a notebook and a wine tumbler. If you're new here, welcome to Little Craft Nest. My name is Nisha. I do lots of videos on crafting and Cricut tutorials. Let's get started and jump onto Cricut Design Space. These are the 2 images I'm going to be using for my projects today. I'm going to be using this cute little kitten on the notebook, and I'm going to be using this Live, Love, Craft decal on the wine tumbler. If you're interested in these images, this cat here, I got this off of Design Bundles, and this decal here, I just put the words and the image together to create this. The font I'm using is called Magic Love from Font Bundles, and these scissors here are a Design Space image. Now, when we go and make this, we're not going to make this decal out of just one piece of vinyl. So I'm not going to have this all the same color. What we're going to do is use strips of vinyl, and so this cat is going to be made up of multiple pieces of vinyl, and it's going to be a multicolor cat when we're done. But on the screen, we want to keep it all black. If that doesn't make sense yet, don't worry, it will in a few minutes. One thing to keep in mind when you are choosing images that you want to turn into a multicolor decal is how much detail there is. Now, this cat does have quite a bit of detail, but because I am making him larger, he is 5 inches wide. It shouldn't take a whole lot to weed him out. If he was really tiny, it would be probably pretty tricky to weed out this design. So make sure you measure your blanks and decide how big you want your decals to be, and then go ahead and click on Make It. And I'm going to grab the Live, Love, Laugh decal and just drag this over to the side just so I have some more room to work with on my mat. And then press Continue. And we're going to select Premium Outdoor Vinyl for this project. Now let's go set our mat up. So take a look at your images on your screen and then take a look at your scrap vinyls to see what colors you want your decal to be. So you can go ahead and do as many colors or as few colors as you want. Just make sure they're long enough to cover your design. So for our cat, I've picked out a few colors here. And what we're going to do is slice these into even smaller pieces. We're going to slice little tiny strips. And then for our other decal, I just chose some different shades, blue and green for the tumbler, and we're going to slice these up as well. So you're going to take your paper cutter or your vinyl cutter. I only cut vinyl on this one, and I have a separate one that I just use for paper. And I love this one from Cricut because it has this handy dandy ruler that comes out of it. So you're going to grab your small scraps of vinyl, and we are just going to slice these. You can make them as thick or thin as you want. You can make them different thicknesses or keep them consistent. It's totally up to you. So once you have all your scraps cut out, we're going to take the cover off our mat. And then we're simply going to take our scrap pieces and we're going to place them on our mat. You can place your strips down on your mat however you want. They can be in a pattern or not. Just make sure they're all sticking really well and the edges are touching each other. You don't really want to have any gaps in between your vinyl. And that is why you want a sticky mat. If your mat is old and not very sticky, it's going to be really hard to get the pieces touching each other, and you want them as close as possible. So once you have all your vinyl pieces down, you're just going to go over it with a brayer. This is just going to make sure everything is stuck on your mat really well. Also make sure the scraps on your page are covering the area of where your vinyl decal is going to cut out. So now we can go ahead and stick this into our machine and let it cut out. So our machine has cut out our design. Now, normally when I weed, I take my design right off the mat and I'll weed on my self-healing mat. However, for this project, do not peel your design off the mat until after you have weeded. So let's go ahead and weed out these designs. So I'm going to use my favorite weeding pin pen right here. I got this one from Tech Wrap, and I absolutely love it. It makes the weeding process go by so easily. So I'm just starting with the outside of my design, and then I'll go in and get all those little pieces like the inserts of the letters. If you're having a hard time determining what needs to be weeded out and what doesn't, one thing I like to do is keep design space open on my computer screen, and then I can quickly glance at it to make sure I'm weeding the right pieces. This is slightly more tedious than weeding just something that's all one solid color. I already noticed I messed up and I had to find this little piece that came off, but I am just going to stick this right back on and hopefully my design is okay. So just be very careful when you're weeding that you're not pulling off any extra pieces while you're grabbing another piece. Okay, so that cat was a little more tedious than I expected. It may or may not have lost the ends of some whiskers in the process of making this video, but we have finished weeding it, so now it's time to transfer it. So we're going to cut off a piece of transfer tape so we can transfer our image. Now, just before I go ahead and transfer this, I got some alcohol here and a lint-free cloth, and I'm just going to wipe down the surfaces before we stick vinyl to it. So I'm going to wipe down this notebook and the wine tumbler. So I'm going to take my weeding pen here and just peel off the backing of the transfer tape. And I'm going to gently place this on top of the cat. I like to kind of do a little fold in the middle, but not creased. And start in the middle of the design and then slowly move your transfer tape towards the outside edges. And then grab your scraper, and we are going to make sure this vinyl sticks really well to our transfer tape. So go over it a number of times because there's so many little pieces to this decal here. We don't want to lose any of them. Now, after you think you've gone over it enough times, we're going to try to remove this entire image along with the backing. So we're going to slowly put our fingers underneath each of these backing pieces and pull them up along with the design. One thing you can do is use your scraper to help you to stay under the pieces you've picked up already. And then we're going to pull this whole image off the mat. So we're going to flip the mat upside down and we're going to peel our mat off of our design here. And again, you can use your scraper as well to help you with this. All right, here it is. And now we have to flip it over again. And we're going to gently peel all these strips of paper off. And if it's not peeling too well, you can always grab your scraper again and just scrape the other side. And then slowly peel off each backing. Now I had a piece just here move a little bit when I was pulling it back, so I just grabbed my tweezers and I'm setting that piece back into place. So make sure you're peeling off these backings slowly so you don't mess up your design because there are so many little pieces. Another trick is to make sure you're pulling back on an angle, and that way if pieces are lifting up, you can just quickly push those back down again. So there is our cat transferred onto our transfer tape, and we got it all on there and it looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and apply this to the notebook. I'm going to stick it right here in the middle. Again, I like to kind of start in the middle and then go towards the outside. And then we're just going to press that on there really well. I like to scrape in all different directions. And then once you think it's on there really good, you can go ahead and peel back that transfer tape. And if you have any pieces standing up, like I have that little whisker there, just go over it with your finger and you can stick that down again. And once again, you can grab your scraper again if you want to. I love how this cat turned out. I think my daughter's really going to like this on her notebook. Let's go ahead now and get our next decal onto this tumbler. This is going to be a little different because now we're working with a curved surface. I'm going to use the same piece of transfer tape I just used. I'm just going to cut it down just a little bit so I don't have all this extra getting in the way. And then we're going to place it on top just like we did with the last decal. And varnish our decal onto that transfer tape really good. And then once again, we're going to try to peel everything off here at once. Now, if you had a really tiny decal, even smaller than this, you probably don't need to take the backing off as well. You might even just be able to pull it off with your transfer tape. But for larger decals, I find it works so much better if you just take it all off together. And then we're just going to varnish the back of it. And then we can peel off those strips. So here's our decal here. And one tip for putting decals on curved surfaces is to cut little slits into your transfer tape. So if you have a feeling it's going to be tricky to curve a certain line over your rounded surface, you can just do little slits like this, and that will help you get your design on a little straighter. Just make sure you're not cutting the vinyl while you do that. So here is our cup here. I'm just going to put our decal here on an angle. I'm not going to do it straight. You can put it on straight if you want, if you're really good at eyeballing it. I kind of like to do things on angles that way. If it's not perfect, it's okay. So once again, I'm going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to let one side down slowly, and then carefully let the other side down, one piece at a time. And once it's on there and you don't see any bubbles in your design, go ahead and grab your finger and just rub over the entire design to make sure it adheres really well. And once you think it's on there good, you can go ahead and peel off that transfer tape. And there it is, and it looks very cute. So here's our finished projects. We have our cute little scrappy cat here, and we have our wine tumbler. Let me know which one you like better, and also let me know in the comments what other things you do with your vinyl scraps. There's so many different options. Some of the things I have used vinyl scraps for are little nail decals for my daughter's nails, or making little tiny stickers that my kids can use. What else do you do with yours? I hope you enjoyed today's project, and I hope to see you on more crafting adventures.